Argentina against Brazil.
Incredible.
El Monumental in Buenos Aires. And we saw a beatdown, Jules. It was 4-1. I'm not exaggerating. I think it could have been 6 or 7.
Easily.
And by the way, the one goal was Cuti Romero brain fart.
Yeah, again.
And this is Argentina without Ballon d'Or Lautaro and without Lionel Messi.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many things I think to say about this massive game. Obviously, massive derby. From Rafinha, pre-match comments on live, we're going to rough them up, etc. And then the full control. And so you can lose, I guess you can't really lose 4-1 if you're Brazil against Argentina. That doesn't happen, or the other way around. And it's not so much maybe the scoreline, although it's a humiliation. Let's call it what it is. It's an embarrassment from Brazil. It's just the difference of level between the two teams. And like you said, Gabby, with Argentina, arguably without their two best players, with no wingers, with a formation in a 4-1-4-1, where you knew they would have control of the ball, but there was just nothing from Brazil to try to counter that control. And I mean, well done for Argentina. I think they are with Spain the best team in the world right now. And they showed it again on Tuesday.
You say with Spain, I mean, that's a debate we could have later. I think there's several orders of magnitude ahead of Spain right now, anyway. The way they look. And look, Argentina, they're not mathematically qualified. I think they will mathematically qualify imminently. It's hard for people from outside of South America or haven't visited South America and been around this to understand that this is their Premier League or La Liga or Bundesliga, right? Yeah. Every cycle... They go, everybody plays everybody else, home and away. This is a really, really big deal.
Yeah.
And we knew Brazil weren't particularly good. DORIVAL Jr. has been criticized and whatever. But, they won against Colombia.
In the 99th minute.
But they got the win. And I think they played better against Colombia. Leaving aside the goal came late, and it was Vinicius. And this matters. And now they don't play again for another 3 months. And it's going to be 3 months of people weighing in, of questioning DORIVAL, questioning the players who are there. And what I struggle with, Jules, is that, I don't just want to criticize Brazil. I want to praise Argentina too. But all these big-time players, and I hate to pick on him, but I'm sorry, I have to. Vinicius.
Yeah. Has to be the front, not just him, the front three. But
you can talk about the front three, but as I can see, about the front three, there's only one of the front three who refuses to go to the Ballon d'Or ceremony. There's only one of the front three who cries and it's disrespect when people don't vote for him and they vote for somebody else. I mean, if you want to inhabit that level, right? The level inhabited by Kylian Mbappe, right? Leave aside Messi and Cristiano, none of them are there yet, right? But if you want to be the big star, if you want to be this caliber of person, you have to show up. For the big games.
Yeah. He's got 8 goals, I think, in 40 caps. And they are tough caps because they are most of Brazil. Those caps. Yeah, it's Brazil and the South American qualifier, those games. So there's no game against Luxembourg and there's no game against the Gibraltar. No, but it's true. Like Kylian Mbappe scores 5 goals or 4 goals against Gibraltar. There's no Gibraltar game for Vinicius or the others. But yeah, you're right. It's not enough. Certainly with Brazil, it's not enough for Rodrigo, who has 33 caps and 5 goals. It's not enough for Rafinha, who's also has over 30 caps and I think 5 or 6 goals again. So yeah, you're right. It's not enough. My issue in this game especially is the lack of effort they put without the ball, which is for Vinicius and Rodrigo. Vinicius especially not new. We see at Real Madrid. Rodrigo seems to do more at Real Madrid defensively and without the ball than he did in that game. And for Rafinha, I don't understand. In a Barcelona team where you have to press and press and press, to not bother about defending in a game like this is unacceptable.
I mean, I think the only out on that one, it could be that at Barcelona, you're asked to press. And if you don't press collectively, if you're the only one who goes and Vinicius and Rodrigo are standing around, the press isn't going to work. All you're going to do is leave a big gap. No, it's not so much the press.
It's just tracking back, defending. They didn't defend. The second goal, the Enzo goal, is an embarrassment for Rodrigo, Vinicius, and Rafinha. How they let the team down really by the lack of defending. And Vinicius said after the game, this shirt is heavy to carry. It's heavy to wear. I don't believe in this a second. I know it's Brazil. I understand that. 2, if it's heavy. Just work harder and trust me, it'll be lighter.
Jules, help me out with that first goal because, again, I was just amazed by the Thiago Almada assist.
Yeah.
I can see the spider, Julian Alvarez. He did, the control, the bounce, it felt for him as well,
it's
right?
a bit lucky,
Into those situations.
Yeah.
But the pass. Now, are you going to tell me that actually the pass wasn't that difficult because the Brazilian defense, they weren't
No,
tight enough?
they just let Almada turn, play between the lines, plenty of time on the ball. But the ball is still inch perfect because it goes between like 3 or 4 players right into Alvarez's path. Maybe Alvarez should take it first time because there's not really time for him to control. Like, there's no space for him to control it. So then he gets a bit lucky. But yeah, the ball, I mean, you look at the lineup from Argentina and obviously there's no more wingers, I guess. I mean, Nico Gonzalez or Di Maria before, those kind of guys. It's like really, you look at the 5 midfielders that Scaloni chose for the game like this, and they are, okay, Paredes maybe the most defensive one, he's the one that sits, but then McAllister, Enzo, Almada, and De Paul. Okay, De Paul can be a little bit more defensive and certainly a lot, but the others are quite similar. So, okay, there's no pace than if you had a winger, for example. I get that. So then that means a lot of control of the ball and then good luck to get the ball off them. And when they start playing, if they can find each other. So what you have to do if you're Brazil is like, okay, we have to be super aggressive. You play Joel Linton and Andre in that midfield too, which really... I know we can talk, we're done talking about Brazil, but this is not, you've said that before many times, Gabby, this is not a very good generation anyway. If your midfield is Andre and Joel Linton, okay, you don't have Paqueta, you don't have Neymar, obviously, you don't have Bruno Guimaraes for this game. Joel Linton, Andre, I think Gomez came on at halftime. I'm like, wow, okay.
I don't think Joel Linton on his own is the issue, right? But if you have Joel Linton playing with Andre, who is primarily a defensive player, and you have Joe Linton, who at club level plays in a 3 with 2 very technical players, you're asking him to do a very, very different job. And this is the part I don't understand about DORIVAL. Like, dude, you don't have time to play with these players, but do you not watch them on television? Do you not know what Joe Linton does week in, week out? Because you're not putting, again, I don't want to go on Joe Linton and say, Joe Linton, I think, was maybe, he put in a shift, he put in effort. You're not going to blame Joe Linton's effort in this game. But I'm asking, are you putting him in the right conditions to work?
It depends what you want him to do. Because in this game, maybe he put an effort in, but he was completely lost. And
because he's doing something different than what he does at club level.
Yeah, but he played against Colombia 3 days before. He was quite dreadful too, in a midfield 3. So I just for me, Joe Linton should never start for Brazil. He could be a squad player if you want, should not start. But when you play against McAllister and Enzo, the quality on the ball, even Paredes, we might not like Paredes, but it's passing.
Paredes has quality on the ball. That's
it's just so hard. So then if you're not there defensively, that mindset of being in their face, don't let them do anything, don't let them turn. Instead, it was that first half is a walk in the park for Argentina.
And again, the first half you may see that, Argentina went 2-0 up and then it was 2-1. Again, if you watch the highlights, you see how it became 2-1. And that is simply because Cuti Romero has a brain fart. He just sits on the ball for too long.
Yeah.
There's nobody. Again, Cuti, there's things you do well and there's things you do badly. Like, you are not Beckham. But even if you were Beckenbauer, I would not want you trying to beat a man when you are the last defender. It's just, and everybody's covered. That's where you just take the L and either pass it back to the keeper or you boot it.
Yeah.
Like, keeper's debu, so maybe don't pass it back.
No, but you could have passed the ball. Yeah, they had plenty of options.
But really... that was the Brazil chance. I don't remember maybe one
That's
other.
the only shot on target they had.
Yeah, I think there was another Matias Cunha as well. But
not like, this is the best chance.
Cunha put in a lot of effort because he's Matias Cunha.
Yeah, like Joao Pedro did against Colombia.
But because again, he feels like, oh look, I'm the I'm the peones, I'm the water carrier, I'm the Deschamps, and you're all Zidane's, to go real old school there.
Yeah.
But you're right. The thing which really gets me in this about DORIVAL, and I know when you're Brazil, well, you can't get anything wrong. Fine. But if there's one game where you look at your calendar and you can say, okay, we can not afford to lose this, but if we lose here, it's not a tragedy because we're playing the world champions away from home.
Yeah.
So let's just have a good performance. Let's go mano a mano. Let's really take them on. It's this game. And that's not what they did. And I think that's what's most disappointing about it. It's not just the lack of effort from the front three. This was a game in which, in some ways, you were playing with house money because you beat Colombia. You're fine there. If you lose to Argentina, as long as you put in a performance, it's okay.
Yeah, I think he got his tactics wrong completely. Because again, you knew what kind of game. You knew Messi wasn't going to be there. You knew there was be no winger. You knew exactly how Argentina would play. And to me, either he took the game for granted, which I don't believe. You can't take the game for granted away at the Monumental against the world champions, the South American champions twice, probably the best team in the world right now, even without Messi. But for me, completely underprepared, got everything wrong that could have gone wrong, from the selection to the formation to everything. Even what he did at halftime didn't make any sense. And defensively, they don't have really fullback that are good enough. Outside of Marquinhos, Murillo played. He had a shocker of the first half, got subbed off at halftime. So, Gabriel Magalhaes played against Colombia. So I know, this is not a great generation, but still you expect far more from them than that. And now, all that instability we've seen on the bench with like 3 managers in 4 years or something since Chiche left, it's not enough. So what, now you're going to sack DORIVAL Jr. again? Because in the 16 games that he's been in charge, they've been poor most of the time. They've been terrible defensively, conceding so many goals against everyone. Mm-hmm. Well, you get rid of him and then you start again with Jorge Jesus, with Felipe, with your
Real
dream
Madrid
of Carlo
manager.
Ancelotti. Yeah, that's your dream. Okay. But I just don't know where you go now.
Couple more things on Brazil before we move to Argentina. One is obviously Bento was in goal. I guess because Alisson was concussed.
Against Colombia, yeah.
Edison still has his mysterious injury that
I think he's injured,
kept him out, and that's why Ortega's playing. And
he's not in the squad, So Bento
that's why Again, I'm not. It is not a good look. Not a good look. On the Rafinha comments. Rafinha goes on Romario's YouTube channel, and Romario, I gotta say, okay, one of the greatest goal scorers of all time.
Yeah.
Goes into politics. I think almost like much better with age. Some
he looks great. I thought he looked great.
But I'm just saying the contents, right? Like, I don't follow Brazilian politics, but people know it's just like, no, he took it seriously. And on his podcast, he's really good. And from a journalist perspective, you want to extract from Rafinha, right?
Exactly that.
Stuff that makes news.
Yeah.
For Rafinha to go and you said we're gonna beat them about
roughen them up. Yeah, he said.
The translation I saw, and I didn't see the original, was we're going to F them. It is not a smart thing to say. Not so much the bulletin board, because then you look stupid, you look delegitimized. Even the way Rafinha's move is viewed in Brazil. Again, he's one of those guys who's never really done it for the national team consistently. He's one of those guys who left Brazil at a very young age to go to Rennes, was it?
No, to Portugal first, to Rio Ave.
Okay, but then he went
to Rennes.
Yeah. So he doesn't even have like the natural constituency in Brazil
absolutely.
that somebody who sticks around. And now you just look like an absolute fool.
Yeah. You look a fool before the game. After you humiliated, so he's trying. He was about to take on and have a fight with pretty much every Argentina player at the end of the game, and rightly so, because there must have been a lot of anger from Brazilians, but even more him, because he knew exactly what he said before, and he knew he was going to come back and bite him, obviously, which he did, and he's still doing right now. Obviously, there was a lot of beef. Rodrigo saying to Paredes, you're a bad man, and Paredes saying, I've got 2 Copa America and 1 World Cup. You've got 0, which is always going to happen in games of this nature and caliber. Yeah, just a night to absolutely forget. But then on the other hand, not to forget for Brazil. For Argentina, it's great, and we will talk about how great they are. For Brazil, you forget it, but you also don't forget it in the sense that this is a massive kick in the back side, and then you have to react, and because this will happen again. It will happen at the World Cup as soon as you play somebody better than what you maybe face usually, because they're just not good enough right now to be even top 8 in the world, I think.
You're Argentina, you said maybe alongside Spain, and part of me instantly kind of said, well, no, maybe they're greater than Spain.
But then you mentioned the players, and
then I'm like, I'm seriously rethinking this, and I think this is where we have to give a lot of praise to Lionel Scaloni. And I know with national teams, it's completely different. We talked about with Tuchel, but last time we were talking about Tuchel, you get less time. All you can really do is set the culture, set the lineups. You can't even really do that much in terms of tactics. Lionel Scaloni, despite not having too much of a CV as a manager before taking over, he's dealt with accommodating Messi in this team, because we can go and put our heads in the sand as much as we want, but we were there. We saw Messi play in Qatar.
Yeah.
And he obviously had a tremendous contribution, but it means that off the ball, you have a guy who just walks around the pitch. And that's fine. But everybody has to adjust to accommodate him, right?
Yeah.
So that's not an easy thing to do, because then when he's not there, like in this game, oh, look, there's no Messi. Now we all adjust a different way. So that takes a lot from the manager.
Yeah.
Managing the egos as well, because there are, obviously, there's a hierarchy of players who always play, who became world champions. But then around the edges, there's people who might feel that they deserve to be there more than others because of what they've achieved rather than what they might achieve. Like Almada, for example, right? Who's somebody who you can think of as rising.
Yeah, I'm not sure Almada would really have something to say if he was not starting at his age in a team like this.
No, but I understand that. But you are balancing that versus somebody older who's maybe not producing to the same level, right?
Yeah.
And these are things that Scaloni has to manage. And then I go through these players. And okay, Dibu Martinez, fine. I think he's a bit of a tool, but he is one of the top 5 or 7 goalkeepers in the world.
Yeah.
No argument there. But then you look through this, you look through the rest of the team, and Cuti Romero, apart from his injuries, his issues with red cards, the brain fart in this game, there's issues of discipline, even at club level. And yet when he plays for Argentina, he's in there. He is the choice. The guy next to him, Otamendi, I joke that he's 40 years old. He's not 40, but
not far.
He's not far either. And again, all this stuff that we talk, you need to play in a competitive league. Otamendi plays in Portugal, right? Most of the time, he's playing Rio Ave and Figueirense,
it's still
whatever.
not a bad league.
But what I'm saying is, so this idea that we often say, no, I need to play in the Premier League or the Bundesliga or La Liga to be at the top. No, obviously not. He's played there before. He's old, and yet he comes and he contributes. And Scaloni puts his faith in that. Nicola Tagliafico, again, I'm one of the people who says you're too small to do and not physical enough to do this job. And yet, when he plays for Argentina, he's what, 1.50 meters? No, he's not that small. But,
he's
lost his pace.
He's not Marcelo.
And he's lost his pace too. So all he has is a little bit of technical ability. In midfield, Leandro Paredes plays from a standstill. And he's in and out for his club team.
Yeah, but that suits the team though. So I agree. But Paredes in a team like this is just the perfect component. And then they have the best midfield in the world.
They do.
Spain.
But again, last month I've been saying, McAllister looks tired because he's played almost every minute of every game. Goes back to Argentina. I don't know if it's a shirt, if it's Brazil, if it's a Monumental. He runs like a maniac in this game.
Yeah.
And he lifts his level again.
Yeah.
De Paul is a guy he's another one who basically plays all the time for Atletico Madrid in every competition, right?
Yeah.
And then he comes back and he lifts his game. So how is it that Vini is tired?
I don't know if Vini is tired. I didn't think Vini was tired in that game. He was just not good enough. I just think that this level of control from Argentina, especially in midfield, is, for me, rarely seen. They've got it wrong at times. Scaloni has got it wrong. The last results are not always great. They played against Colombia. They lost to Colombia in a 4-4-2 when Messi wasn't there. That control in midfield wasn't there, really. And the Lautaro Alvarez up front didn't really work out. We've seen Diamond in midfield with Messi as a 10, with Almada as a 10, and Messi and Alvarez playing up front. That game against Paraguay, where they lost away, they were not good. The draw against Venezuela, they were not good. And that was only 3-4 months ago. So it's not perfect, but in this game, helped massively by the so underwhelming and disappointing performance from Brazil. They were outstanding, but there's time where this Argentine team is not as bad. But for me, this game, and Messi wasn't there, and I don't know if this team is, if they can't play like this with Messi, because Messi brings something so different and they have to adapt, like you rightly said before. But it's how well they can play with that game against Brazil together in that midfield, especially outstanding.
Yeah, I don't know. People complain about international break. Me, I got to see Italy, Germany, and Brazil, Argentina.
Absolutely.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty A-list for me. All right, enough Brazil and Argentina. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, Gab.
Jules, there's no agreement yet.
Yeah.
But everyone, all at once, is reporting that a deal between free agent to be Trent Alexander-Arnold and Real Madrid is very close. How seriously should we take it? Would this be news if it was an international break?
Yeah. I think it's a massive news. This is maybe the beginning, or it's not completely done, but we know it's going to happen anyway. I think we've known for a while now. They won't have a problem to find an agreement with him on personal terms because he's a free agent. So this is really easy. So it will happen. I think it's big from a Liverpool point of view to lose somebody like him. Okay, the defending, we don't need to talk about the lack of defensive ability that he has. We know that, but certainly on the ball, certainly to replace him, to go and invest on somebody else because Bradley and Kwanzaa or Gomez, whoever you want, is not enough to replace Trent Alexander-Arnold for a team like Liverpool. So they will have to go and get Frimpong and get Fernandez, I don't know, whoever they want in Portugal, in Germany, in France. They will need another right back. So yeah, it's massive.
I think if Bradley's fit, I think you give him a chance. I disagree with you on the fact that it's automatically you put your resources on that.
Well, I mean, you need another one anyway. You can't just have Bradley as
that's
right back.
fine. But I'm saying is you assess whether he can start and give you the minutes. But what I find interesting though is, I was always told that it's not guaranteed that all three are going to return, and of the three, the likeliest to leave was Trent.
Always, yeah.
And it's not a done deal. So I think there's always the possibility that stuff happens until the deal's actually done.
But it's not.
But I also think if you're Liverpool, I know people are flipping out and you're homegrown. I mean, guys, how about a little bit of trust in Michael Edwards? How about a little bit of trust in the club and the discipline that they have?
Trust in which way?
In the fact that there's a reason that Trent, I presume they put an offer to him and he says, I can get a better offer elsewhere. No, thank you. And they put a value on him, and they've been proven right so many times so far. And
I don't think money is the issue here. I think Trent would have gone even if he'd been offered the biggest contract in the history of Liverpool Football Club.
If that's the case, then come out and say it. That's all I'm going to say. You're up.
Yeah. Sepp Blatter and Michel Platini, former presidents of FIFA and UEFA respectively, were again acquitted on appeal in a Swiss court. Gab, remind us what this is all about?
First of all, lawyers. This story goes back to 2015. It's freaking 2025, 10 years later. But basically, Michel Platini helped organize the 1998 World Cup. And so he was advising FIFA then. After that, Sepp Blatter, if you believe Sepp Blatter, and the courts do, said, hey, why don't you come and advise me as the FIFA president, and I'll pay you 2 million Swiss francs, about $2.2 million for 4 years' work, and you'll just be an advisor. But of course, they never actually had a contract. And he never actually paid him. And apparently it's because Platini's so rich that he doesn't need the money. Only in February 2011 did Platini get paid, which, funny enough, was around the time when there was a lot of support for Platini to run against Sepp Blatter for the FIFA presidency.
Yeah.
This story all came out in 2015 when Platini was going to run, when obviously that was after the Borlaug scandal, and Platini was going to run against Blatter and the FIFA scandals and whatever. That the story came out, and so the prosecutors have investigated. Anyway, both have been banned for life. Draw your own conclusion. I do think Switzerland is a really, really good place to be if you like getting paid money for contracts that don't exist, and then you ask for the money years later. That's all I'm going to leave it, because I'm sure those guys are litigious. But by the way, FIFA not happy about this. FIFA wanted them found guilty. More transfer fund, Jules. Hugo Ekitike linked to Arsenal in a £60 million pound deal, sort of a plan B if they can't get Alexander Isak.
Yeah, I don't know if Isak is the plan A or not. I can understand why Arsenal, like other clubs, are looking at Ekitike, because one, it's a very good season on the back of already the second half of last season. That was very interesting. He was, I thought, outstanding, for example, against a very strong England under-21 team during the national break with France under-21. He's not far from the France A team either. And in terms of a number 9 that can do a lot of things, because he's very, very gifted technically, as well as being tall, a bit skinny and lanky, but still, he's got the pace. He's a good finisher. He's got everything. I think the move to PSG was too early for him. It didn't work out. But I think he's probably ready now to try again in a big club. So I can definitely see why he's on potentially Arsenal shortlist, but also others. I think United are quite keen. I think Chelsea have looked at him in the past too. There's a lot of clubs who are looking at him for him to get something better and bigger than Frankfurt. No offense.
I think it's a stupid money for Ekitike, but hey, that's just me.
Bad news for Bayern Munich ahead of their Champions League clash with Inter. Gab. Alphonso Davies has suffered an ACL injury, so he's out for a very long time. And then Dayo Upamecano will also be missing too.
Huge blow too. That's 2 out of 4. I think we see Bundesliga. Maybe it's not as wrapped up as we think it is, because once these guys are missing, then you get into Eric Dyer and Rafael Guerrero, and it's just very, very different back there. So, tough break for Bayern. All right, Jules, we're not done. We have more quick hits.
Yes.
So far, so good for Tommy Tuchel's England. 3-0 against Latvia. Well, that first half was kind of yucky.
Yeah, it wasn't great until Reece James scored this wonderful free kick after 38 or 39 minutes against a team that was there to defend. We knew they would be, and it was hard, I think, for England to break them down. It got a little bit better in the second half. Like we said after the Albania game, and this was worse because the opponent was worse too. There's not much I think you can learn from that. Outside of the fact that it's 2 wins in 2, obviously no goals conceded, hardly no chance conceded either. So 100% winning record for Thomas Tuchel, the only one in England football history with Sam Allardyce, obviously. Let's not forget.
I believe you'll find that Don Fabio Capello also won his first 2 qualifiers. Yes.
Yeah, but then he didn't win every single game in charge. It was Tuchel for now.
Well, Sam Allardyce had 1 game.
Exactly, that's what I mean. So him and Tuchel
and then he went,
2
he had
games.
his pint of red wine after that.
There's a few things that we've seen in how they set up, how close Bellingham and Kane are playing next to each other, for example, things like that. The way they drop, maybe the positioning of Lewis Kelly on that left. So there's a few things already, but we need to wait a little bit more and see more. But now we won't see them until June anyway, so it's a long time to wait. And sticking with England, Gabby, Dan Ashworth, the king of gardening leave, is rumoured to be rejoining the FA to work on a programme to produce more English coaches.
I find this interesting because what this tells me, if it's true, that A, he's going to take a massive pay cut. Maybe he's made enough money. Maybe he's doing this. Because you wouldn't go and do this job unless you actually want to go and help and you want to do something tangible. Look, I think this business with English coaches is a little bit overplayed. What people need to understand is that when you look at the Premier League has the best players in the world and it's the best resource league. It is legitimately difficult for it's more difficult for an English coach to go to the top flight in his own country than it is for an Italian coach in Italy or for a French coach in France. So we always take this into account. But look, if he wants to do this, if he's made enough money, more power to him. Why not? Yeah. Jules, you like your techers. Southampton are reportedly looking for a fee of, quote, up to £100 million for Tyler Dibbling, who only turned 19 last month. And by the way, I'm going to say this story, like the Trent Alexander story, is the result of what people in this country like to call a briefing, where somebody at the club does not have the cojones or works so close to his agent to put his name to something and speak on the record. So he says something to everybody in the same time. That's why everybody has a story. Yeah,
I mean, 100 million, I think, in their absolute dreams, obviously, but they know that. I don't think they expect anybody to bid 100 million. Or
they say up to 100 million.
Yeah.
You know what? When I go in for my pay raise, when I go talk to my boss, I say, I want to get paid up to what Stephen A. Smith. They're like, sure, Gab, we'll pay you up to what Stephen A. Smith gets. It'll be nothing like that.
No.
But it'll be up to.
Yeah, it could be up to.
Is he good or is he just a guy who dribbles?
No, I think he's good. Is he ready for a move away from Southampton? No. I mean, I didn't know about his story before, but you told me, Gabby, as we were preparing for the show, that he'd been at Chelsea before, where he felt a little bit homesick and certainly he wanted to go back home in Southampton. Is he ready now, 19, to do that same move? I'm not like a similar move, I guess, and leave Southampton to go to Manchester United, to go to City. I'm not sure. And I think, again, with just 1 year of more down than ups in the Premier League for him and for his team, I don't think right now would be the time to move.
Yeah, I think people need to understand players develop at different levels, different paces. So you can say, oh, look, but he's 2 years older than Lamine Yamal. Yeah, maybe he is, but what you see from him is a lot of raw talent. You've seen almost nothing in terms of end products. And again, is it because Southampton are a bad team?
Yeah, I think so.
I actually think In a season in the championship where we presume, no disrespect, Saints fans, Southampton are going down. If they can keep him in the championship where he can play,
absolutely,
and Southampton can be a dominant team and attack a lot more,
surely,
we'll find out a lot more about him.
Yeah, I agree. FIFA finally revealed the prize money breakdown for the 2025 Club World Cup. $125 million will go to the winners, Gab.
So just for context, Manchester City, who won the Premier League last season, they got about $200 million for winning the Premier League. If you win the Champions League and win every single game, which we know is not going to happen, you get $145 million. So this is extremely, extremely valuable. There's also a participation fee where teams, we told you this was going to happen, teams in different part of the world get more money. If you're from Europe, you get between 12.8 and 38.2 million. I'm guessing Salzburg gets the 12.8. No disrespect. Auckland City from Oceania, they get 3.5 million because their home market is small. We knew that this was always going to be decided. Again, the key thing that they have to thread the needle is they have to make it worthwhile for the clubs who come, but also make sure that these teams from some of the smaller confederations don't suddenly become mega juggernauts just because they get more participation money. We'll see if they got it right. Big comeback for Arsenal in the Women's Champions League against Real Madrid as they overturn a 2-0 first leg deficit. And meanwhile, Lyon trounced Bayern. Not a surprise because they destroyed them in the first leg as well. Jules, talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, Lyon were 1 goal down at half-time and Bayern were the better team in that first half. They literally...
2-1 up on aggregate. And they're still playing.
But the first half, Bayern battered Lyon completely. And at halftime, you were worried, I think, for Lyon going into the second half. They changed a few things. I think Wendy Renard had a few words to say to her teammate at halftime, and then they started score 20 seconds in or something in that second half. And after that, the dynamic had changed completely. But for the first half, it was not great from Lyon. It was not that great from Arsenal, who had a lot of the ball in that first half, and Real Madrid defended the 2-goal advantage from the first leg, obviously. And then again, everything turned at the start of the second half. Only a minute in that second half, Alessia Russo was outstanding. And then that second half from Arsenal is probably the best I've seen them play all season. And they've had really good games this season, especially since René Slegers took over as the manager. They were outstanding. They scored 2 more goals that were disallowed for tiny offside, and they were the right call, but still, Real Madrid completely overplayed in that second half. And well done to Arsenal in that they meet each other, Lyon and Arsenal, in the semi-final.
A lot of character because you could see the clock ticking for Arsenal. A lot of character, I thought, in the second half.
No, they were great. The San Siro saga rumbles on, Gabi. The new stadium project from Inter Milan has been made public.
Yeah, so what they want to do is they want to team up. They want to buy San Siro, as in the stadium, from the city of Milan. They're going to build a stadium that's slightly smaller, but still very big, 71,500 seats versus the 75,000 of the current capacity of San Siro. But of course, it's going to have more corporate and hospitality so they can make more money. The idea is 2027, the work starts. 2030, it ends. 2031, they move in. As with all things, with the bureaucracy we have in Italy, I'll believe this when I see it.
Where would they play in that time? Or can they play in the old San Siro?
They'll play in the old San Siro, yeah. And then later that'll get knocked down. I just want to say, I like teams sharing. It's part of the culture of Milan. I'm glad they're not building their own, each is building their own stadiums. That'd be stupid and not environmentally friendly. Paraguay come from 2 goals down to draw 2-2 away to Colombia in South American qualifying. Jules, they'll be fine in terms of qualifying, but are they less than the sum of their parts?
Yeah, it's a strange one because they obviously had gone through a really impressive series of unbeaten results, and they were good at the Copa America, obviously until the final. And I didn't expect them to. I mean, I don't know how much we can say they fall off a cliff because they could easily have had a draw away in Brazil, for example, in the first game. And this one, it was a bit of a disappointing one overall. Chelsea minority owner Todd Boehly gave a long interview to Bloomberg on Monday where he hinted that he and majority owners Clear Lake might go their separate ways.
Yeah, so the thinking is they have different plans for the stadium, whether to redevelop Stamford Bridge as it is, which means they'd have to move out of there, maybe to Wembley for up to 7 years, according to some estimates, or you buy a nearby site in Earl's Court, or you buy part of it, because you only need part of the site. Interesting thing to me is Boehly owns 12.9% of the club. Clear Lake owns 61%. He actually says we're either aligned or we go our separate ways. I don't think they would mind it if he left. Okay, so this is the first time that we've actually, I think, had an on-the-record admission that, the marriage. We reported it, many people reported it, And we've had angry Chelsea fans like, no, Bedade Bali and Todd Bowley are best friends. Like,
yeah.
Okay. So first of all, here's a little reminder, right? Just about who actually owns the club. Clear Lake, which is the shop owned by, represented, I should say, by Bedade Bali and Joseph Feliciano, have 61% of the shares. And by the way, it's not like it's all their money. No, they raise money from investors and they run this fund, which is 61%. There's three minority owners who are seen to be aligned with Todd Bowley. One is Todd Bowley, 12.9%. The other two is this guy, something or other, Walter, who used to be Todd Bowley's boss at Guggenheim and is also part owner of the LA Dodgers. And the other one is the Swiss guy, Wiss, who is 1 million years old. I mean, I think he might be pushing 100 at this point. What Todd Bowley said is over the stadium, there seems to be a division there. So one option is redevelop Stamford Bridge, make it a 60,000 seat stadium, which I think they have planning permission to from the Roman Abramovich days. The problem is it's a tight footprint. So if they redevelop it, it would take a lot longer to rebuild it than it would a different stadium. And so the idea is they have to go play elsewhere. Wembley's been suggested.
For quite a long time as well,
Some people say up to 7 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Mad. The other one is there's a massive site, literally like a 5-minute walk away in Earl's Court, which is actually in the borough of Kensington, Chelsea. Because Chelsea could actually play in Chelsea. This is a site where they had an exhibition center there before. They had some Olympic events there. It's all been torn down and flattened. The problem is that site is enormous. Chelsea would only need like a quarter of that site.
Right.
And the people who own it are going to say, well, if you put in a development plan, you have to put a development plan for everything, right? We're not, because then if we have a football stadium on a quarter of it, what do we do with the other three quarters? With the rest?
Like it's,
it might not be as attractive. But what's interesting is, here's the quote from Bowley. We have a big stadium development opportunity that we have to flush out. And I think that's going to be where we're either aligned or we ultimately decide to go a different way.
Wow. Okay.
If I can be cynical, Todd Bowley isn't as involved day to day with the club as he was. He's not calling the shots the way he was. This to me is a signal. Hey, if somebody wants to buy a chunk of my stake in Chelsea, I might listen, and for the right price, I might do it.
Okay.
More Bowley, Jules.
Oh, come on. I love that.
Well, come on. It's like when we have those texts.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way, Todd, we're going to give you a hard time here. I will. But thank you for speaking.
Yeah,
because you know what?
That was that Bloomberg conference. It was the conference, wasn't it?
No, I don't think. I think it was a separate interview with David Hellier. He was an excellent guy, Bloomberg. No, but all these people who never talk, right?
True.
Talking about you guys, Glazers. At least this guy talks and then he gets judged. And
that's true.
At least he fronts up, right?
Yeah,
Others,
absolutely.
including other Chelsea owners, don't do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bowley also says, if you look at the evolution of the team, it's young. Players have long contracts. There's a core stability there. We're executing a plan that will have Chelsea where they need to be rather than where we need to be. Interesting.
Yeah.
Are you as positive as he is?
I mean, positive. I'm happy to be if you want, Todd. Or Toddy. I can call you Toddy. Yes, young for sure. That has a good side of it and also more negative side when you have a young team because they lack experience. And we've seen this many times that the youth in this team has hurt them. The long contracts, I'm not too keen, but hey, you do business the way you want. The core stability, I don't really understand. Where is the core stability? Who is the core stability?
Maybe people believe in the spine argument. So you go Colwell, Caicedo, Enzo, Cole Palmer, Nico. Maybe that's what it means.
Not sure.
Core stability. Yeah. Maybe he's been doing his crunches.
What about Robert Sanchez? Let's start the core about Robert.
No, and by the way, you talk about stability. Let's see if you pass UEFA's financial fair play first, by the way, because they're not going to recognize you selling hotels to other parts of your group.
Yeah, and let's see how many players leave and join again this squad because it's been quite a lot in the last 18 months or so. So, yeah, positive is probably not the word I would use, but I don't mind where they are right now. And I think there's still a lot of talent, albeit young talent, in this squad. And we're not done with Todd Bowley, Gabby, because the Chelsea Supporters Trust have issued another statement against him.
Yeah, so Todd Bowley is a shareholder and apparently director at a company called Vivid Seats, which, by the way, I believe sponsors some ESPN content.
Yeah.
When I hear Vivid Seats, I think of Vivid Video, which might mean, if you're old, might mean something to you, but don't Google it. Anyway, what these guys do is they're a ticket broker site. And if you have tickets to a musical event or a sporting event, you can list it on Vivid Seats and somebody else might buy it.
Okay.
There's other bigger sites that do the same thing. The problem is the resale of Chelsea tickets apparently is not allowed in the UK.
Yeah.
Chelsea have quite an except through the authorized reseller that Chelsea have a deal with.
Yeah.
And Chelsea are quite aggressive in going after it. And I think you're going to have, and you've got ticket touting, as they call it in this country, or scalping, as they call it in the US, not allowed. And that's kind of what Vivid Seats do.
Yeah.
On top of that, there's also another argument I've heard from Chelsea fans where, they maybe can't attend a game, so they sell their season ticket, they release their season ticket back to the club who pays them face value for it, and then they go and they'll sell it to some Norwegian dude for £600. I don't know if this is an accurate story, but this is a widespread story.
Yeah.
It's not a good look for you to be involved in this, Todd. No. I don't know how big a part of your vast portfolio your share in Vivid Seats is, but at a minimum, you should put those shares in a trust and recuse yourself of certainly being a director there.
Yeah.
And you should at least speak out about this.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, one more thing on the stadium issue, which I haven't mentioned. Chelsea can't just move to the Earl's Court development site because of this complicated story with Chelsea pitch owners, which has to do
of
with
course, yeah,
they bought the freehold of the club and their covenant. There's a group of Chelsea fans, and you can join them if I think it's like £2,000, you get a permanent share in this. They would have to vote and approve Chelsea moving anywhere from Stamford Bridge. Otherwise, the new club can't use Chelsea's colors or use the Chelsea name or whatever. So that complicates everything as well.
Yeah.
David Trezeguet for president of River Plate. I love this, Jules.
Yes, Gab, because the elections are coming up at River, where David played later in his career. Obviously, he left Argentina really young.
Is that where his dad played too?
Yeah, and then left very young to go to France, as we know, then played for France, obviously, and then for Juventus, etc., etc. But then had a pretty good season or two, I think, at River. And this is his club, obviously, as you said, like the family club. And I think it'd be a dream come true for him to be there. And a bit like a Villas-Boas supporter, maybe. I really love the fact that former players or managers in Villas-Boas' case, but in Trezeguet's case as well, want to be involved and running. And also, that he's genuine, it's the love of the club. There will be no dodginess or anything like that.
He's not going to get rich off this.
Exactly. That's not why he's doing it for sure. Yeah, exactly. Norway beat Israel away 4-2. I mean, away in Hungary.
Still away. It's away.
It's still away. It's still away. Yeah, you're right. It's still away. And World Cup qualifying as Martin Odegaard collected 3 assists and Erling Haaland scored. Like the only living Soloth. What's your, how do you say again?
The only living Soloth in captivity.
That's it, sorry. Living Soloth in captivity. Gab, you talked about how terrified you are because they are in Italy's group.
Yes, and I'm still terrified of all these large men coming in and going and picking on poor Alessandro Bastoni. Yes, it terrifies me. I actively hope that they drop points away from home on the road against other people. I'm even worried because Christoph Azure scored in this goal.
He scored even himself.
And every time we ask Jan, why do Norway stink so bad? He says, well, we have the good attacking players, but our defenders are all slow and terrible. Well, this guy was slow and terrible, and a giant scored. Yes, I am terrified, and this isn't helping. And I believe we play them in June.
Yeah.
Paris Saint-Germain, of course, have their own stadium issues. We're talking a lot of stadiums.
I know.
Jules, you're Paris born and bred.
Yeah.
What do you make of this plan to move out of town, to move far away from the périphérique and the Bois de Boulogne?
Yeah, I don't like it, Gabby.
Next to the airport? Come on, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends.
And it's not even the good airport, it's the crappy airport.
Well, they have different options. They can go to, you're right, the suburbs of Paris, really, because it would not be in the city itself. It would be at Aulnay, it would be at Massy, it could be Ris-Orangis.
Massy is the story I saw. And Massy, they're also talking about a Paris Saint-Germain theme park.
I didn't see the theme park. But it's like they have a PSG land where I think they might even build a like a sports hall. No, like a sports
arena? Like to play basketball in?
Because as we know, I mean, I don't know if you saw the story, but the NBA are about to launch a project to have a European League, an NBA European League, and they've contacted PSG to have a team in Paris like they would have in Manchester, in London, in Berlin, in Munich, in Madrid, in Rome, in Milan. So this
but
is
not
also
in Bologna, the hotbed
Not
of
in
basketball
Bologna.
in Italy.
No, but Milan and Rome is better than Bologna.
Why Rome? Well, why? Because the NBA execs who go there. No,
Well,
honestly,
I guess you think big cities too and bigger markets than Bologna. Come on.
Bologna is a wealthier market and is more of a
but
passion.
not as big, I
Like
guess.
honestly, please, Rome, not a basketball city. Do not go to Rome. Go there for tourism.
They are going to Rome though.
And also, I seriously doubt the credentials of Manchester and London. But okay, I guess you gotta have it. Right?
Yeah, you know,
But
you're
whatever.
right. You're right. So that could be part of this new
Massive
stadium.
NBA digression. I apologize.
Sorry,
We're
me
fans.
too. But
Shoot
it was
us.
in the context of this PSG team,
Yes.
this PSG question. I would love them to stay at the Parc des Princes. The Parc des Princes belongs to the city of Paris. They don't want to sell. And what a lot of fans are asking, there will be elections in Paris for the new mayor next year in 2026. And depending on who is elected, I think their stance on the stadium sale could change. So it's right to wait, I think, and see who is the new mayor. If the new mayor doesn't want to sell the stadium, then inevitably they will have to go somewhere else because they need a bigger stadium than 45,000 seater like the Parc des Princes. If the new mayor is more willing to sell, then please buy the Parc des Princes. They have already pretty much the planning permission for making it bigger and refurbishing the Parc des Princes and stuff like that. I would love them to stay.
Complications with the rugby stadium next door.
It's more the peripheric underneath the complication, but it's like it was made in blocks, so you could do. They could extend it to 60,000 seater, but yeah, I don't know. I would still go obviously if it was in the suburbs, but the beauty I think of this PSG club is the Parc des Princes too.
It's interesting because historically in the past, obviously, as we know, there have been links between Qatar, who own Paris Saint-Germain, and powerful politicians in France, and specifically in Paris.
Yeah.
I get the sense that after many years, they don't necessarily feel like they owe Qatar anything.
It was more. Qatar were close to Nicolas Sarkozy and Emmanuel Macron, who have nothing to do with Paris, though. The mayor of Paris is not even on their side politically, so they can't put pressure on Paris to sell the stadium.
Also, Sarkozy is irrelevant now.
Yeah. He's about to go to jail probably.
Okay,
for bribery and stuff like that. But you're right. You would think that with the influence that the Qatar, they own a lot of stuff in Paris already.
That's what I mean. But I also get the sense that the Qataris at this stage in their journey with Paris Saint-Germain and in sports in general, they're not going to be like, oh look, we're going to build a giant public hospital for sick children in Paris, or look, we're going to go and build XYZ as our gift to the people of Paris if you let us buy the Parc des Princes. Like I don't think they're going to do
you're
that.
Right. Yeah, no. And also this, you're right. And I don't think for Paris itself, the city, just to finish on this, it would be good to have PSG move out of the city to go to one of the suburbs. Okay, the suburbs is not far, but it's still not in Paris. And right now, they gain a lot for PSG to be at the Parc des Princes in the 16th arrondissement, so close to the Eiffel Tower and the Champs-Élysées and everything you want.
And
that
the
would not be the
16th
case.
arrondissement, by the way, is where a lot of the rich people in Paris
It's
live.
the poshest. But being in Massy wouldn't be the same. There's a movement in Bergamo to give Atalanta boss Gianpiero Gasperini a statue, Gab, but now he's also linked with Roma. What's going on?
So obviously he said he's leaving at the end of the season. Now
I saw quotes saying that he wanted to stay now.
Because Gasperini, like I said, and you know my thoughts on him. I don't think he's the most stable person.
True.
Geniuses often aren't the most stable
Absolutely.
people. Roma would be interesting because Atalanta Roma, those two clubs absolutely hate each other. The fan bases absolutely really hate each other. The Ultras have put up a statue, obviously not a fancy statue. I don't know. I think if you're Atalanta, you say thank you and you allow him to move on.
You think?
You don't want to get dependent on a manager. Whenever you get too dependent on a manager over time, Manchester United, anybody? Once he's gone, there leaves a massive vacuum. And Atalanta, I think, are a much better run club than that.
Yeah.
Malaga have a ton of untapped potential as a club, but a horrendous Qatari owner I don't know if this guy has any links to the royal family.
Yeah, he's a cousin. He's an Al-Thani, yeah.
What is he? But he's like the foolish cousin because he's been absolutely terrible. They've been in judicial administration since 2019. Jules, could Qatari sports investor come and bail them out and say, like, this is how you run a football club?
Yeah, it seems like they're in talks to buy the club for around 100 million euros, I think. Malaga is the 6th biggest city in Spain, so it's a big market. You're right.
They have massive tourism infrastructure, massive airport as well.
Of course, yeah. They used to have a really good team and a really good academy. I think they reached the quarterfinal of the Champions League in like 10 years ago or something.
With Maresca and Pellegrini.
And they... obviously not doing as well now. They're in the 2nd division. You're right. There's
he stopped spending money in 2019. He just stopped paying people.
But he only has 50% of the share or 40% of the share, I think. And somebody.
Why is he still there?
I don't know. It's a very good question.
And I'm assuming he is kind of, like I said, like the black sheep cousin. Because
I don't know exactly where he ranks in what is a big family, the Al-Thanis. But certainly he will stay within the family. QSI, so who own PSG, also own 20% of Braga. They own like 67% of PSG now, so not 100%, but they would own 100% of Malaga.
And they own 100% of Luis Campos, right? Or no, Luis Campos own. No, sorry, being mean.
But yeah, they would see this as another investment. They've also invested in Formula One and other stuff, NBA and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, and they've loaned a lot of players to Braga, for example, in Portugal, which, like we said, they own. They probably would do the same. It would be interesting. I'm not a big fan, as you know, of multi-club ownership, but I can see why they are tempted by it.
I know if it's 100 million, if that lays down a market price, like, again, genuinely in La Liga, if you look at, there's this perception that there's 3 clubs that nobody can come close to them, right? But I actually think this is an opportunity where it could be 4 clubs, right? Yeah. Valencia, you have to deal with a psychopath, and so obviously that's a no-go, right? Sevilla have had a lot of financial problems. I think it's kind of made for Malaga to grow in many, many ways if you're willing to put in the investment. And then obviously you're not going to be Real Madrid or Barcelona, but you can get there.
Yeah,
Bilbao
absolutely.
are not going to get there because of the Basque-only policy. Get there on a stable, sustainable basis. So why not them?
Yeah, I agree. South Africa in danger of being docked points after they fielded an ineligible player, Mamelodi Sundowns midfielder Teboho Mokoena, in a 2-0 win over Lesotho. Gab, this would have big impact for them.
It would. It depends if... So normally what happens in these situations is you forfeit the game with the ineligible player. Let me check. First of all, I should say, who's the moron who can't count? Like,
I mean, I find that...
I never understand how this stuff happens, right? Because apparently he got 2 yellows.
Yeah.
And that's what did it. But if they decide, you don't just forfeit the game, you also get a points penalty. Because right now, it's South Africa 13, Rwanda and Benin on 8, Nigeria 4th on 7 points, Lesotho 6, and Zimbabwe 4. There's, I believe, 4 games left to go.
Yeah.
Top team qualifies, second team goes into the playoffs. So it's dicey for Nigeria. Nigeria have only just won one of their 6 games thus far. I'm sorry, I apologize. I look at it from the Nigerian perspective for obvious reasons. Yeah, I am a fan of the Super Eagles. But so South Africa would go down to 10 points, but then Lesotho would go up to 9 points potentially, right?
Yeah.
And so Nigeria would be even further back.
Yeah.
Nigeria still have the head-to-head against South Africa, but I think that's in South Africa. I think they drew with them at home. So it's all uphill. Let's hope it doesn't get political. I think you should have a precedent before, that if you play a player who's ineligible, this happens. You forfeit, or you forfeit and you lose 1 point, or whatever. It shouldn't be treated case by case.
Yeah, I agree.
Jarell Quansah linked to a move to Newcastle for around 30 million plus bonuses. Jules, fair price?
I think this is a English-born player price, Premier League player price. Mind you, if Lloyd Kelly is worth 20 million euros...
Stop it with the Lloyd Kelly.
Juventus.
Stop picking on Juventus.
Sorry, Juventus.
Lloyd Kelly, Alcaraz. By the way, I know, it's the same dude who brought them over. It's the same guy, former agent of the year at the Bravo Awards at Tuttosport. Nice one.
That's
there.
Right.
Build a statue to him in Turin.
No, I don't think he's done enough. Yeah, okay, last season was not so bad. This season much more difficult for him. He's still young, so there's potential to develop. Of course, there is. But I think you overpay often. We saw with Elliot Anderson, for example, going to Forest. Okay, slightly different context, but still. So, yeah, I'm not too keen. I think it's still a lot of money.
I do wonder, it is a numbers game. If Van Dijk goes,
Yeah.
Jogo's not getting any younger and coming off an injury, Trent going, all of a sudden, you got to move in and you got to bring in numerous bodies. True. Otherwise, you have a back three of Bradley, Tsimikas, Konate's always injured,
Konate, yeah.
and Robbo.
Yeah.
You need more bodies.
You need, that's for sure. Gab, the Afghanistan's women's teams hasn't played since the return of the Taliban in 2021, and most of the players are in exile. FIFA are under pressure to recognize them and let them play internationally.
So they've been under pressure for really since this happened, in 4 years. And the qualification for the Women's World Cup actually begins, I think, this coming week. And it's too late to put Afghanistan in there.
Yeah.
And I have no idea if Afghanistan would have a chance to qualify or not. The difficult part is I can see FIFA's side of the argument, which is, well, wait a minute. Okay, first of all, we support women's football and whatever. But it's not like the women who were on the Afghanistan women's national team in 2021 all left together and they all trained together. If we believe that a national team has to be representative, not every Afghan women's footballer has had the chance to be a part of this, right?
Right, that's
so
right.
we'd be choosing this group of footballers in exile over other Afghan women footballers who might have gone elsewhere. I mean, I know a lot of them went to Australia. For a while they kept them together, they trained, but also a lot of stuff happens in 4 years, right? Yeah. So I understand they don't want to set a precedent. I think there's other things you can do. These women are not professionals. None of them are professionals. They have jobs. And I know they've gotten a lot of help from different charities. I would go further. Maybe you make a fund for them. Maybe you make it so that Afghan women who play football can apply to be part of this group. Maybe you make it a training camp. Maybe you have got like a stipend for them. Maybe you help them organize competitive games at their level.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you can do. I can understand why they don't just say, hey, you group of women, you guys go straight into qualifying, because there's all sorts of legal reasons why they probably can't do that. I think there are other ways to help. Jules, more women's football. The NWSL like to see themselves as the best women's league in the world. Marta came out and said it as much.
Yeah.
I think Barcelona might be saying hold my beer, but whatever. Now, they lost Naomi, who you say is the best defender in the world, bar none. Now, Trinity Rodman, who I believe is the highest paid player, or maybe the biggest star in NWSL. She could be next. Michelle Kang, who owns the Washington Spirit, and also Olympique Lyon Feminine.
That's right.
And also she's got a club in London as well, right?
Maybe.
Entering the WSL pyramid. She says it's going to be tough to keep her. Is this a thing for NWSL? Just they can't hang on to their players? They come to Europe?
I think right now the appeal from Europe is very, very strong, as we saw with Yema and starting to see with others as well, which is not easy. I think, to deal with for the NWSL. I wouldn't be surprised if Trinity Rodman, our age especially, was saying like, I fancy 2-3 years in Europe, whether it's at Lyon, Barcelona, Manchester City, Chelsea.
But it's not just
Arsenal.
about money; it's also the chance. Arsenal, you get to play at the Emirates once in a while, right?
Yeah, completely. No, for sure. But money is big. I mean, I think Naomi Gemma is just not only the most expensive women player, but also one of the highest paid in the world. So there's the money, but you're right. There's also playing in Europe. There's also playing in those stadiums. There's also playing, I think, the Champions League, to be fair. The Women's Champions League is very appealing. So it'd be very interesting to see. I just wouldn't be surprised at all if she decided to go. And again, she's young enough to have 2, 3, 4 years maybe, and then come home back to the NWSL. It would not be a problem.
Yeah, this isn't like our second NBA reference of the show. This is like the WNBA, where I know it's changing now. There's more money, but until very recent, and still today, you've got players who in the off season go. They used to go play in Russia and whatever.
Yeah.
We saw what happened, Brittany Griner, whatever.
But it was like that for football 10 years ago, for example. Morgan came to Lyon for 5 months or 4 months in the off season in the NWSL and then went back.
So this situation I want to avoid. I think NWSL also under pressure because I believe there's a rival women's league in the US, a rival D1 women's league as well. I think they need to sort things out and need to figure out their model as well and what works.
Gab, why is World Sevens football and could it jumpstart the women's game?
So this has gotten a ton of attention to the point that our producer Freddie kept pitching this story.
Yeah, always, every week.
For us to talk about. So basically, there's a guy named Adrian Jacob who is effectively the chief executive of Chelsea's women's team.
Yeah.
They've been super successful the last 10 years, Emma Hayes, all that jazz. And he's leaving to go join this World Sevens football. Now, what this is, the reason this is interesting is they obviously have a lot of really good PR people because they're getting a ton of press.
They do.
But basically what they do is they want to organize almost like a made-for-television tournament involving 8 teams that are going to be invited to join. It's not proper football because they play on half a pitch. They're going to have slightly smaller goals, unlimited substitutions, 2 50-minute halves. But they want to get the biggest clubs in the world to join, right? To send a team, to be able to invite them. On the one hand, if there's more opportunities for women's football, that's great. On the other hand, I freaking hate this. And I hate it because it's outside of FIFA, outside of the pyramid. The fact that they're allowed to do this and neither FIFA nor UEFA push back on it suggests to me that FIFA and UEFA think that this is stupid and this is a waste of time and it's not going to be important enough. And that to me suggests that it's destined to fail. And the reason it's destined to fail from a sporting perspective is you probably enjoy futsal. I don't. Because it's not football. It's a different thing, right?
It's a different game, yeah, for sure.
This is a completely different game. And
Absolutely.
You're taking the branding of, by the way, you're not help doing anything at all for the pyramid, giving more opportunities for women who want to play. You're just going to the biggest brands that are already out there and you're piggybacking on them, you're chucking them in there, and you're doing this. I don't see how this helps.
No, I know, but maybe this is just the beginning
And women end up not playing football, but playing this crap instead?
No. You can have both. A bit like in cricket where you've got different format of the game.
Yeah, that's really the model.
No. I'm not saying it's the model. I'm just saying that there might be something. We see the Kings League, of course, with Gerard Piqué just launched in France. We've seen the Baller League here in the UK and in other countries being launched.
Okay, but sorry.
No,
I watched some Baller
Let me
League.
finish. Yeah, no, I know. We've seen like the other day, there was not just Legends game 11 against 11, but also 5-a-side or 6-a-side. Bayern Munich had a mini tournament with their legends. Fine. So they are different forms of football. But even at our level, you can play 5-a-side with your mate.
I got nothing against that.
7-a-side, you can play 11-a-side. So maybe somewhere, I'm not saying this is good or bad or the answer or not, but maybe somewhere there's also room for something else, as long as it helps the pyramid, as long as it's structured.
Which
and
this
organized.
doesn't do. This isn't under FIFA control.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing is, if you want to develop women's futsal, invest in that.
But
you are taking women
it's already there. Yeah,
who play 11-a-side, you're taking them out of their context.
Yeah, I hear you.
And you're piggybacking on this. Like I said, to me, my reading is FIFA and UEFA think that this is going to be a colossal flop.
Yeah.
And if it's a success, do you want to bet that they're going to steal the idea and make their own tournament straight away
absolutely.
like that? And these guys will be left out in the cold? The USA and Mexico are bidding for the 2031 Women's World Cup, and CONCACAF president Vittorio Montagliani, to be initiated, says some games could be staged in Jamaica and Costa Rica, according to The Athletic. It's a good idea.
I'm always happy for big tournaments, big games to go to a lot of countries. I think it's good. I mean, we have to be careful of carbon footprint and all of that, because I think the 2026 Men's World Cup is already going to be quite heavy on that. But yeah, the more countries get, can you imagine if you're a kid growing up in Costa Rica or Jamaica, you probably thought you'd never see a World Cup match. Same with Morocco, same maybe with Uruguay and Paraguay and countries like that. So for the men's and the women's World Cup to go to countries like that, to visit them, even a couple of games, doesn't have to be super big teams and super big players. I think there's something special about it. So yeah, I'm all for it. As long as we can just make sure that it's not too detrimental to obviously the planet.